Hello! Oh my gosh, she's in frame with her little blue cone. Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Andrea. If you guys didn't already know, my dog Aries just had surgery. I know you guys have a lot of questions about what she had done, cost of surgery, any complications that we had, so I'm going to take you guys through the past 2 months of our lives. I do want to put a little disclaimer that this is my own experience and the steps I took in Aries' situation. This is in no way any medical advice, so if you have any medical concerns, please consult your vet. It all started when I found a little lump on her lower abdomen. If you guys are anything like me, I'm always constantly checking my dog to make sure that she's like sound and like she looks all good. So the moment I felt a little mass on her lower abdomen, I was like, this is wrong, like something is wrong, this is not normal. So obviously I like spiral, right? So of course my first reaction is to call the vet. I couldn't get her in that evening because they were already closed, but I did get her in ASAP. So we're gonna move on to vet visit number 1. During vet visit number 1, we did 3 main things. Number 1, we did her regular routine vaccines, which included like rabies shot. Number 2, we did something called an FNA, which is fine needle aspiration. Essentially what I was told is they essentially take a needle, put it into the mass and kind of take out cells and fluids, and they send it off to the lab, get results from there, yada yada yada. Third of all, they do a von Willebrand test. So essentially what that is a blood test to make sure she can clot properly, and we send that off to the lab as well. Hopefully yields good results. We don't know yet. It takes like, I think a week or so for the results to come back. So now it's a whole waiting game. Of course, I'm like gripping the edge of my seats. I'm so anxious because I just want these results, but I can't go to the lab and say like, give them to me now. The current situation that we're in is we're waiting for von Willebrand testing to come back in, waiting for FNA mass results to come in, and Aries is just coming off of her heat cycle. So dogs, depending on like the breed, size of your dog, usually get like a doggy period or heat cycle, estrus cycle, if you really want to get technical, you know, every 6 months or so. So Aries was just coming off of her heat. She was supposed to get spayed prior, however that had to be delayed because she went into heat and you can't spay a dog during heat. I also do want to mention that Aries, as a larger breed dog, I was advised to kind of spay her later on in life. A lot of people have different opinions when to spay your dog. People will say 6 months after first heat, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 year old, you know, it's like you'll get a bunch of different things. However, I was told by my vet to do it after 2, which is why we decided to do it around this time. So I'm mentioning this because of what happened right after. 3 days later, after her appointment on February 6th, we got what I would call like the urine scare. We were out on our regular walk, and then all of a sudden when she peed, I saw blood in her urine. And if you guys have ever researched like any scare about your dog, you will know that number 1 thing is like blood in urine is never a good sign. It's never ever ever a good thing. And it kind of worried me, or it really worried me, because she was coming off of her heat cycle, so she shouldn't be in like the bleeding phase anymore. Yet she was having blood in her urine. So I was like, this cannot be part of her heat. Like this has to be associated with the mass. Like automatically I'm like, the mass, cancer, urine, bladder, you know, a million things are running through my head. So I rush home. So I email my vet the urine with the blood inside of it, and I essentially say like, hey, I don't know if this is related to the mass that we just tested her for, but is this a cause for concern? And they took like not even 30 minutes to respond to me, but during that like 20-minute time period, I was going down a rabbit hole of like, what could this be? And of course, like you shouldn't ever do that, but I couldn't help it. 25 minutes later, my vet calls me and he's like, how far do you live from the hospital? And I'm like, 30 minutes. And he was like, can you get here like before 6 o'clock? And I was like, oh my gosh. At this point I was like, I'm cooked, you know, like whatever, like this is bad. He's like, I'm just worried that she has pyometra because she just got out of her heat. Pyometra didn't come to me right away when I first saw the blood in her urine, because she didn't have any signs of like, you know, like any like lethargy. She didn't have like signs of like bloating. Like she didn't have any of the signs. And I was like, oh, he thinks she has pyometra. Okay, I was like, I can get there ASAP. So load her up in the car, drive her down to the vet. Was kind of crying in the car. I'm not gonna even lie. Like tears were shed in the car. So that leads us to vet visit number 2. The first thing he did was a recheck of her mass. What he did was he excreted a little bit of fluid from it, put it on a smear, and then put it under the microscope. He said that he found a little bit of white blood cells, which means that her body was like fighting something off. He also took her in for an ultrasound because he wanted to check to see if she had pyometra. He comes in around like 10 minutes later, and he says that he and another doctor looked at it and there was no signs of pyometra in her uterus. Like there was no pus filled in her uterus. It was He literally just said it was only a little bit of pee. So vet visit number 2 consisted of number 1, everything looks good internally per her ultrasound. Number 2, blood work looks really good, no issues there. And we were still waiting for FNA results and von Willebrand results. So those were the things that we tested for 3 days prior. Still was waiting on those results. And I was also told that with a tumor like this, she has a 50% chance of it being benign, 50% chance of it being malignant, which is cancerous. And we were really hoping that the sooner we could get her results in, the sooner we can get it out of her, just because if it was cancerous, it has more time to spread the longer it's inside of her. I did ask why she had blood in her urine. He did say it could be a one-off, just because she was coming off of heat. It could have been like extra lining, something like that. It wasn't normal, but he said that nothing looks wrong. So we're just gonna monitor it and see if she keeps peeing blood. So we got the results. And I got the results for the fine needle aspiration first. They essentially said that we can't tell you if it's benign or malignant. So they got a good sample, but they just couldn't tell anything from it. Then a few days later, I got the call for von Willebrand, and this is where it kind of got a little bit complicated, because they said, hey Andrea, Aries' von Willebrand results were kind of low. They consider 25 low. Aries was like right on like that 25, 26-ish. I think she was like 23 when they first said it, and they were like, this feels really low, so we want to redo it with a different technique. The reason why they thought it was low was because she was coming off of her heat cycle, so they were saying that maybe her hormones have something to do with the levels of something. So let's recap the current situation that we're in. So number 1, they're saying that it was a very weirdly low von Willebrand result. Number 2, the FNA results didn't really yield much. Number 3, she was supposed to go under surgery, I guess like that week, but that has been now pushed back. And that causes more issues because the original plan was to get her mass removal done this month, let her heal, and then spay her. So now everything's kind of like pushed back, you know? It's like she was supposed to go under surgery after she got her von Willebrand results back and FNA results back, but now we have to redo von Willebrand testing. So that's pushed a month, which means her spay surgery is pushed a month. However, I was told that I could probably do her spay and her mass removal at the same time, which at that point I'm like, you know what? Let's do that. Let's do it all in one go. The only issue, again, there's like little minor complications. They were saying that maybe if her von Willebrand was too low, you want to make sure that you just do one surgery so she can heal from that and then do the spay. So I was like, okay, when we get the results back, we'll decide if we do it together or we just push both surgeries back. So that brings us to vet visit number 3, which is her von Willebrand retesting a month later. By this point, her hormones should go back to basic levels and everything should be good. They did it free of charge, which I really appreciate them for. Just because they had told me like the results that we got with your test, the lab had made a note saying like, it's kind of weird. Results came back a little bit higher. She was 27. So it wasn't the worst thing possible because they said that we've had dogs come in and it was von Willebrand level 4. So she was just above low, and the results they got now was just a bit higher than what they originally got for her. So the results of her von Willebrand meant they have to proceed with caution during her surgery, just because she might have issues clotting, and they have to do something called cryoprecipitate, which is essentially, how do I explain it? I don't know if I'm explaining it properly, but like before surgery, they have to infuse her with clotting factors so that when she goes under, she hopefully clots better. Also, I do want to mention with the cryoprecipitate that it's a higher surgery charge just because they have to order in like bags of plasma to infuse your dog with prior to the surgery. So with Aries, they had to order in 3 bags, and I had to bring her in 30 minutes before surgery so they can kind of prep her in hopes that she'll clot better during surgery. Okay, fast forward to the actual surgery date. Just when we thought that we're like out of the woods, something happens, right? So I bring her in 8 o'clock and Dr. A tells me, he's like, so we have the plasma. However, we have 2 bags of negative and 1 bag that's like type A. He assured me, he was like, I did call the lab and asked them like, hey, like we need 3 bags of negative, but you sent me 1 that's A. and the lab has said, oh, we assure you that everything that we take for cryoprecipitate is always negative, but we will send you a negative bag, an extra negative bag, like if you want. And of course, Dr. A was like, absolutely, please send in another bag of negative just so they can have 3 bags of negative, which is what they originally needed. He just didn't want to take the risk, which again, appreciate him so much. He didn't want to take the risk with the type A plasma, I guess. He wanted all negatives. And he was like, we should be getting the bag in today. However, that just means that her surgery is going to be pushed back a little bit. She's going to be my last surgery instead of like surgery now. I also want to clarify that we decided to do her spay and her mass removal at the same time just because she's already under anesthesia and she already has all of the factors to clot properly. So he wanted to get both surgeries done with right now, and that was like the ideal scenario. So I ended up leaving her at 8 o'clock, and I got a call at around 1:30 saying that everything went good, she's just being monitored, and I can pick her up at 5 o'clock. So 8 to 5, Miss Girl basically did a whole shift at the vet. So what are we doing today? Today we are essentially almost 2 weeks post-op. Everything looks good, her incision site is healing, and I got a call about the results of her mass. And I think this is like histology, I'm pretty sure that they call it. He confirmed essentially it was a benign tumor. We don't have to worry about cancer spreading. Best news I've ever heard in my life. I'm being so serious. This has been such a long 2 months. I'm so grateful for everyone who kind of like helped her along the way. And the fact that like we had a few complications here and there, it was all worth it because the end result was that it was a benign tumor. Her surgery went well, she's healing well. It was like everything I could ask for at the end. She's currently really restless because again, we're 2 weeks post-op and she wants to go sprint. She is so ready to play, but we're getting her stitches removed soon, so she can't do it just yet. But we're on our way to recovery. But yeah, I know I put the invoices up as I kind of went along the story, but I'll give you guys the total cost of everything right now. I calculated everything, all the vet visits, the surgery itself, and it all came down to, what was it?
$4,306.92.
$4,306.92. So around 4,300. Damn. Anyways, I hope that answers all your questions. If you have any more, let me know. I tried to touch upon mainly like what she had done, complications, and cost of everything, but if you guys want to know anything about her recovery, just ask me in the comments. I'll try and answer all of them as best as I can, but I hope this answers most of your questions. But thank you guys for tuning in. Bye!